Okay, bienvenidos a la semana 4. You guys are all old at this. This is nothing new anymore. You're well on your way to learning Spanish. So today we're going to talk about the verb estar. Estar is another verb in Spanish that means to be. In fact, just a little bit ago we talked about the verb ser, which you already are very familiar with and know how to conjugate. Estar is a second verb in Spanish that also means to be, and it's also an irregular AR verb. It's mildly irregular, and the main difference is in the first person singular, the yo form, we say estoy. So instead of just taking out the ending and adding an O, we add an OY. The other difference is that in the other forms, except for the nosotros forms, there is an accent on the A in the ending. And you'll see that here in just a second. And that's really just a pronunciation thing. Again, you're familiar with this verb. We've learned cómo estás, cómo está. And so we're just going to look at some rules for using estar and talk a little bit more about the conjugation. So a couple different ways, again, for different people who learn different ways, to visualize the verb estar in its conjugations. We have the main conjugations there in two different ways. So I'm going to have you repeat after me. Clase repitan. Yo estoy. Tú estás. Usted está. Él está. Ella está. Nosotros estamos. Vosotros estáis. Ustedes están. Ellos están. Ellas están. And I skipped the nosotras and vosotras form, but it's the same. So there you go, some pronunciation. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, and están. The conjugations for the verb estar in the present tense. And then, of course, I couldn't leave you without my favorite thing, my verb tree. So again, estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, and están. The conjugations for the verb estar in the present tense. Super useful verb, one of the more common verbs in all of Spanish. Notice that while ser and estar both mean to be, they are not interchangeable. They are not the same verb. In fact, people that speak Spanish natively don't even understand that they're the same verb in English because they are just two separate verbs. It's not like they have to struggle to know which one to use because they just grow up. They're just two verbs that are used at different times. There's never going to be a time where you're like, oh, should I use ser or estar? Once you know the rules, because they have just different meanings, even though we only have one verb that indicates the meanings in English. It's got some basic rules here of when to use estar and when to use ser. This honestly, this concept could take months and months and months to really explain because there are so many nuances, but I'm going to give you a cursory, going to give you enough to dig into it and to understand, for the most part, when to use ser and when to use estar. Now, this comes from the book, and I just made one correction here under the uses of estar, because it says location, and I added in there in parentheses of people or objects. So I want you to be aware of that. We're saying, like the example is, yo estoy en casa, Marisa está al lado de Felipe, the book is on the table, the location of people and things, but ser is used for location of events. And so if you say the party is in my house, that's a verb ser. La fiesta es en mi casa. So estar is used for location of physical things. Ser is used for location of events. Look, so estar is used for location of physical things. Health, you say I am sick, I am not feeling well, I am sad, I am happy. Those health and well-being things, we use the verb estar for that. Ser, we talked about, we use that for identity. I am a chiropractor. I am a doctor. I am a teacher. You are a student. He is. So we're talking about the identity of that person. An occupation, which goes into that. Origin, de donde eres? Yo soy de Arizona. Yo soy de Estados Unidos. That's the origin. Also, origin is in este vaso es de plástico. You can't even see it. This is my diet cover for today. It's blurry. But that's the origin also of what something is made of. La mesa es de madera. The table is made of wood. So that's the same, goes in with origin. And then telling time. We've already had a whole lesson on that. So time and date are also only used by ser. So again, we're focusing on the uses of the verb estar, but I want you to understand, because in our brains we think it's the same as the verb ser. Now, here's a vocabulary for this time. You're going to memorize these prepositions are very commonly used with estar because they help to describe the location of something. So I'm going to repeat the ones on the left side, and I'm going to have you repeat after me in Spanish. Then I'm going to say it in English, and you're going to repeat after me in Spanish again. Again, we're trying to use as many sentences as we can. So, clase, repitan, por favor. Al lado de, next to, beside. Okay, and again, it's al lado de. And because the al and the lado both end in the same letter, the L, you won't hear people say al lado de. They're going to al lado de. The two L's just kind of roll in together. So it made it sound like one big word. Clase, repiten. A la derecha de. To the right of. Okay. A la izquierda de. And let's repeat that one a couple times. Izquierda. Izquierda. So the Z is going to almost have like a TS on. Izquierda. You get that Z and that Q in together. It's a very, very strange word, hard to pronounce word. So a la izquierda de means to the left of. A la izquierda de. Muy bien. Clase, repiten. Allá. Allá. Over there. Allí. There. The difference is more of a distance. Allá is like over there, like further away. And if I'm pointing on my desk, allí, something that's relatively closer to me, then allí would be the word for that. It's not as far away as allá. So allá and allí. Clase, repitan. Cerca de. Near. Con. With. Debajo de. Below. Delante de. In front of. Detrás de. Behind. En. In and on. Okay, so in and on are both translation of the verb of the word en. Clase, repitan. Encima de. On top of. Entre. Between. Among. Entre. Bien. Lejos de. Lejos de. It's far from. So we have cerca de, which means close to or near, and lejos de, which means far from. Clase, sin. Sin. Without. So we have con, which is with, and sin, which is without. Sobre. Sobre. On or over. Sobre. Okay? So you can see there are a couple encima de, sobre, some different that can be close, and you'll just learn the context, but you'll know when you read it or hear it what it means, and when you speak it, you'll decide which is the appropriate one for the context. All right, so aquí tenemos unos 10 ejemplos de oraciones usando el verbo estar. So 10 sentences, examples, using the verb estar with different prepositions showing where something is located. So, clase, repitan. I'm going to go down the left side and down the right side. Repitan, por favor. La tiza está al lado de la pluma. The chalk is next to the pen, okay? Los libros están encima del escritorio. El laboratorio está cerca de la casa, o la clase, perdón. El laboratorio está cerca de la clase. Muy bien. Maribel está delante de José. La maleta está allí. El estadio no está lejos de la librería. El mapa está entre la pizarra y la puerta. Los estudiantes están en la clase. La calculadora está sobre la mesa. Los turistas están allá. Okay, so some examples of the verb estar used with these different prepositional phrases to indicate where something, an object or person is located. Okay, so we're going to go now. We're going to have you number your papers 1 through 14, and it's just a conjugation exercise. You're just going to pause the video, write the correct form of the verb estar based on what the subject of the sentence is, and then come back and we'll go through it together. Okay? All right, muy bien. Número 1, ya está proveído, ¿verdad? Ustedes están en la clase. Bien, vamos. Número 2, José está en la biblioteca. Third person singular, José. Número 3, yo estoy bien, gracias. Número 4, nosotras estamos en la cafetería. Número 5, tú estás en el laboratorio. Número 6, Elena está en la librería. Again, third person singular. Ellas están en la clase. Third person plural. Número 8, Ana y yo estamos en la clase. Número 9, ¿cómo está usted? How are you? Very common phrase. Número 10, Javier y Maribel están en el estadio. Número 11, nosotros estamos en la cafetería. Número 12, yo estoy en el laboratorio. Número 13, Carmen y María están enfermas, right? Third person plural, two of them. Número 14, tú estás en la clase. Okay? So again, this is more of an exercise on conjugating, on making sure you, again, understand the subjects and the verbs together. But go back and look at these examples because they're all proper uses of the verb estar. Okay, muy bien. In this story, Daniela has just gotten back from the library. You're going to pause, complete these conversations. There are 13 total responses with the appropriate forms of ser and estar. So now you got to decide which verb to use and then how to conjugate it. Okay, so pause, write down 1 through 13, give your answers, and then come back and we'll go through it together. All right, welcome back. I'm just going to go through and just read the sentences, and you should do that, read along with me. Pause, come back, read it, listen to my pronunciation. Again, I'm not going to have you repeat because this is quite a bit, but you want to practice hearing yourself read out loud. Hola, Daniela, ¿cómo estás? Hola, mamá, estoy bien. ¿Dónde está papá? Ya son las 8 de la noche. We're telling time. No está aquí. Está en la oficina. It's the location. ¿Y Andrés y Margarita? ¿Dónde están ellos? Están en el restaurante La Palma con Martín. ¿Quién es Martín? Es un compañero de clase. Es de México. Ah, ¿y el restaurante La Palma? ¿Dónde está? Está cerca de la Plaza Mayor en San Modesto. Gracias, mamá. Voy al restaurante. Hasta pronto. Okay, so a lot of these are the well-being questions. How are you? I'm fine. Then there's location of people. Where is Papa? He's not here. He's in his office. These other people are in the restaurant. And then we talk about the identity, right? Who is Martín? He is a compañero de clase, a classmate. He is from Mexico, his origin. And then back to the location. So again, while we would read this in English, it would be is, are all over the place. But in Spanish, completely different verbs. Muy bien. If you didn't get that, pause, rewind, go back and look at the uses of ser and start again and come back and take it again. You got this. Okay, número dos, or práctica dos, 1 through 19, and you're just going to choose which is the correct preposition and phrase that goes with this verb estar. So again, we're talking location, of which makes the most sense. So, hang on. La pluma está encima de la mesa. Okay, so there's an example. Encima de, because it means on top of or on. It wouldn't really make sense to say the pen was behind the table, although it could be, but this one makes the most sense. Okay, so pause for a second. We'll go through 2 through 9. Come back, we'll go through these together. Okay, número 2. La ventana está a la izquierda de la puerta. Makes more sense. It's to the left of the door than it's underneath the door. Número 3. La pizarra está where in regards to the students? Delante de los estudiantes, in front of. Número 4. Las sillas están detrás de los escritorios. Although I have seen chairs on top of tables before, makes more sense for them to be behind the desks. Número 5, los estudiantes llevan los libros en la mochila, right, in their backpack. Número 6, la biblioteca está al lado de la residencia estudiantil. Número 7, España está, you have to know a little bit of geography for this one, lejos de Puerto Rico, far from Puerto Rico. Número 8, México está cerca de los Estados Unidos. It's close to the US. Y número 9, Felipe trabaja, blank, Ricardo en la cafetería trabaja con Ricardo. ¿Verdad? Okay, muy bien. Just some examples again of how to use these prepositions to help with location. All right, now we have 8 questions. And this is a little bit different. You're just going to number your paper 1 through 8 and just take a second. This is one where there's really no right answers. There are a bazillion answers, possible answers. So, número 1, ¿dónde estás los sábados a las 6 de la mañana? Where are you Saturdays at 6 in the morning? So write your answer. Estoy and where you are. Okay, so go through 1 through 8, pause, come back, and we'll just talk about these really quickly. Okay, like I said, there's no way for me to guess your answers because there are an infinity of options. But for example, ¿dónde estás los sábados a las 6 de la mañana? Estoy en mi cama. I'm in bed. Estoy durmiendo. I'm sleeping. Estoy en el gimnasio, right? Número 2, ¿dónde estás los miércoles a las 9:15 de la mañana? Estoy en clase. Estoy trabajando. Estoy en la cama. Número 3, ¿dónde estás los lunes a las 11:10 de la mañana? Estoy al gimnasio. Estoy en el trabajo, just wherever you are, right at 11:10 in the morning. Número 4, los jueves a las 12:30 estoy en el médico. Número 5, 6, 7 y 8. So somebody's asking you where, you're going to answer back with the yo form of this estar. So your answers, as long as you use the estoy form, then your answers are accurate for you, I'm assuming. All right, we're going to do some pronunciation again. I'm going to have a recording that's going to read the 4 sentences here in this box on the left, and I want you to repeat after the recording.
Oraciones. Read the sentences aloud after the speaker, focusing on the vowels.
1. Hola, me llamo Ramiro Morgado. 2. Estudio arte en la Universidad de Salamanca. 3. Tomo también literatura y contabilidad. 4. Ay, tengo clase en 5 minutos. Nos vemos.
Okay. I'm going to throw this up every couple weeks because, again, pronunciation is the key to letting yourself be understood in Spanish. And pronunciation is, if you can pronounce words right, even if you don't know what they mean, then you're golden. That's half the communication issue right there. So whether you're reading something out loud you don't know, or you're reading something you've prepared that you do understand, that pronunciation is the key. So again, a reminder of those vowels. Vowels are clave. They're the key. Those pure vowels that are pronounced the same every single way. Don't be lazy with your vowels. Get the vowels right. And so that's why we're doing so much pronunciation, is so that you can be understood when you speak Spanish. Okay. One other exercise. This one has 13 opciones, 13 respuestas. So number your papers 1 through 13. Pause here for a second. Now these are all with the verb estar. So you don't even need to decide if it's ser or estar. In fact, they gave you the 2 options for the conjugation. So just go through, write down which of the verbs conjugation forms is correct for that sentence, and then come back. We'll go through them. Okay, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because I'm trying not to make all these lessons be so long. So I'm going to read this out loud, and I'd like for you to repeat along. I'm not going to pause because that's some long pauses, but pause it, read it again to yourself, come back, listen to me, go back and really practice your pronunciation. Hola, nosotros estamos en la universidad. Tomás está en la clase de matemáticas. Él está en la facultad de economía. Yo estoy en la clase del profesor Martínez. Hoy nosotros no estamos en la universidad porque es sábado. Silvia, Marta y yo estamos en la biblioteca. Silvia está al lado de la ventana. Marta y yo estamos delante de un escritorio. ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy regular. Hoy hay clases y estoy en casa porque estoy enferma. ¿Y tú? ¿Dónde estás ahora? Okay, so just conjugating the verb estar. But the important thing is that, again, great examples of when to use estar, whether it's location of a person, location of an object, talking about feelings or how somebody is. Very good example there. Okay, otra vez, otro ejercicio. Just going to listen. They're going to repeat the sentence. You're going to hear a beep, and then you're going to fill in the blank with the correct verb.
3. Escoger. You will hear some sentences with a beep in place of the verb. Decide which form of ser or estar should complete each sentence and circle it. Modelo. You hear
Javier, estudiante.
You circle es because the sentence is Javier es estudiante.
1. Felipe no bien hoy. 2. El examen de biología a las 10. 3. El señor Montoya, el profesor de economía. 4. de Salamanca. 5. La cafetería no al lado de la biblioteca. 6. Tú, la compañera de cuarto de María Elena, ¿verdad? 7. Ahora los chicos en clase. 8. Las 2:30.
Muy bien. Those long beats make me laugh because it sounds like we're censoring out some other words besides ser and estar. Okay, número 1. Felipe no está bien hoy. That's his well-being, how he's feeling. Número 2. El examen de biología es a las 10. This is a good example of location of an event. And so here's the time that's associated with it. It's an event, not a thing. So we're talking about its position, its time. We use the verb ser. Número 3, el señor Montoya es el profesor de economía. That's his identity. Es de Salamanca. That's his origin, his identity as well. It's where he's from. Número 5, la cafetería no está al lado de la biblioteca. That would be the location of the cafeteria. It's not next to the library. Número 6, tú eres la compañera de cuarto de María Elena, ¿verdad? Número 7, ahora los chicos están en clase. That's their location. Y número 8, son las 2:30. Talk about telling time. Okay, as always, if you didn't get all those, then pause, go back, look at them again, and make sure you understand the rules of how to choose ser and estar. Okay, so the last couple of slides, I'm just going to go through really quickly. I'm going to attach in Moodle a presentation that I did last semester. Remember, I'm working on my master's, and we had to do a whole 45-minute presentation on how to teach the concepts of ser and estar. And so I've got some slides that I used here just to show you what we're talking about. Ser means to define things. It's like saying something is something else. And then a mnemonic for the use of ser is doctor, date, occupation, characteristic, time, origin, and relationships. So like Juan is my brother. That's a relationship issue. And then for estar, it means to be, and it locates things in space and time. And the acronym for estar is place, position, location, action, condition, and emotion. So I'm just going to attach to Moodle this whole PowerPoint, and it's got audio buttons where you can hear the whole. I had to get the whole thing in Spanish, but you'll understand it. And anyway, it's completely optional. But if you need or want some more information on how to decide when to use ser and how to use estar, there will be a second PowerPoint presentation associated with that, with this lesson that you can go and look. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, great job. Keep it up.